One text message can destroy a 12-year marriage. The locks are changed. The kids don't want you. It's over. That's what my wife sent me while I was coming home from protecting someone else's network from cyber attacks. She thought she was deleting me from her life. But what she didn't know was that I'm the guy who teaches billionaires how to protect themselves from people exactly like her. And while she was building her new life with her boss, I was quietly building her downfall. What happened next shocked even the FBI. I never believed betrayal would arrive as a text message, not after 12 years of marriage. Not after 2 kids. Not after everything we built together, but there it was, glowing on my phone screen as I walked through Miami International Airport, coming home from a 3-week deployment in Europe. The locks are changed. The kids don't want you. It's over. No explanation. No conversation. Just erased, like I never existed. I stood there in the humid chaos of the arrivals terminal, watching families reunite around me. Kids running into their parents' arms. Couples embracing. Everyone else's life moving forward. While mine had apparently ended without me even knowing it was in danger, the cruelest part wasn't just the message. It was the line about my kids. The kids don't want you. She knew exactly where to cut deepest. Ethan, 16, my lacrosse star who called me every week. Savannah, 14, my artist who still sent me photos of her sketches. My entire world. For a moment, my thumb hovered over the keyboard. Every instinct screamed at me to call her, to demand answers, to fight, but something colder kicked in, something sharper. Instead, I typed 2 words that anyone who truly knew me would recognize. As you wish. See, my wife Sloane had forgotten something important about the man she married. I'm the guy who protects billionaires from digital warfare. I'm the one they call when someone's trying to steal their life, their money, their reputation. I've spent years studying how predators operate, how they infiltrate systems, how they destroy from the inside, and now someone had declared war on my system. My family. My life. As I hailed a cab, I wasn't heading home. There was no home anymore. I was heading to my attorney's office, because the woman who thought she could delete me was about to learn what happens when you attack someone who fights back with precision instead of emotion. The cab ride gave me time to think, to analyze, to follow the patterns. People don't burn down 12 years over nothing. There's always money. Always someone else. Always a plan, and if Sloane thought she could catch me off guard, she'd forgotten that I make a living staying 3 steps ahead of people who think they're smarter than me. Celeste Draven was already waiting when I walked into her office. Sharp, mid-40s, platinum blonde with the kind of cold intelligence that makes billion-dollar problems disappear. I figured it was bad if you're showing up in person, she said, motioning me into her office. Worse than bad, I replied, sliding my phone across her desk. She read the message, one eyebrow lifting. She waited until you were physically back on US soil to hit send. Cold. Cold doesn't even start to cover it. Celeste leaned back in her chair. First question. Are you here to salvage this marriage or destroy it? I didn't even blink. I'm here. To win. On my terms. Her smile was predatory. Good. Weak men try to negotiate. You're not here for that. No. I'm here for my kids. And for everything I've built. Then we play this surgical. Fast. Brutal. Within an hour, I had a team mobilized. Griff Maddox, former special operations, now private security. If something was moving in or around my house, he'd see it. Harlan Quinn, the best cyber forensics analyst money could buy. If there was a digital trail, he'd find it, and me? I had 12 years of shared accounts, shared assets, and the kind of access that comes from trusting someone completely. That trust was about to become her worst nightmare. By evening, I was sitting in a downtown Miami hotel suite, watching the first pieces of the puzzle fall into place. Our joint accounts? Drained. $412,000 moved out over the past 8 weeks. Credit cards? Maxed out a line of credit opened against our house? $600,000. Without my signature and the money, it was all flowing to something called Mercer Holdings. Mercer, not just an affair. A merger. A hostile takeover of my entire life. But here's what Sloane didn't understand about the man she married. I don't just protect people from cyber attacks. I wage them, and the war she started. I was about to finish. The next morning, I watched my wife kiss another man in my driveway. Griff's drone footage was crystal clear. There was Preston Mercer, strolling through my front gate like he owned the place. Designer clothes, expensive watch, the kind of smug confidence that comes from thinking you've outsmarted everyone around you. And Sloane. She greeted him at the door like he was coming home, not sneaking. Not hiding. Like this was his house now. This isn't a hookup. Griff's voice came through my earpiece. This is domestic. This is long-term. I watched from my hotel room as Mercer poured himself scotch from my decanter. Played basketball with my son in the driveway. Sat with my daughter on the patio while she scrolled through her phone. It wasn't an affair. It was a replacement. While I was working 16-hour days protecting other people's networks, someone was systematically replacing me in my own life. But here's the thing about systematic attacks. They leave systematic evidence. Harlan's call came in that afternoon. Jackson, you need to sit down. I'm already sitting. She's transferred $3.4 million from your shared holdings into Mercer Holdings over the past year. Multiple shell companies. Real estate plays in Costa Rica. One of the properties was purchased 2 months ago, titled under Mercer's Offshore LLC. I clenched my jaw. Keep going. There's also paperwork starting a property merger. They're combining your house with the property next door. Architectural plans, Jackson. They're not just screwing around, they're deleting you. Physically. Legally. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out over Miami's skyline. Bright. Ruthless. A city that never cared how you rose, only how spectacularly you fell. Good work, I said. Keep digging. See, this is where most men would have. Stormed over there. Confronted them. Made a scene. Let emotion drive the bus, but I'm not most men. I'm the guy who teaches people that the best defense is a perfectly planned offense. So instead of confronting them, I did something much more dangerous. I disappeared, not physically. Strategically. I pulled my kids out of the equation first. A quick call to Ethan's lacrosse coach, arranging to pick him up after practice. I needed to see my son, to understand what poison had been fed to him. When I found him walking out of the locker room, the look on his face broke something inside me. Dad. His voice cracked. Why now? Why after everything? What do you mean, after everything? Don't. He stepped back. Don't stand there like you didn't choose this. Like you didn't pick your job over us. Over Mom. Over me and Savannah. My heart stopped. Who told you that? Does it matter? It matters more than you know. You left, he said, his voice shaking. You always left. And when you finally came back, you didn't even try. Mom said you didn't fight. Said you just walked away. This was Sloane's script. Her version of events. The story she'd been feeding my children while I was gone. Ethan, I need you to hear me very carefully. I never walked away. I never chose my job over you. What your mother told you, it's not the truth. For a moment, something cracked in his eyes. Doubt creeping in. Then where were you? Why didn't you call? Why didn't you fight for us? Because I was told by her that you and Savannah didn't want to see me. That you were done with me. She locked me out, Ethan. Changed the locks. Cut me out of everything. I didn't walk away. I was pushed. The silence stretched between us. I could see the gears turning in his head. Is it because of Preston? The name came out like acid. Yeah, I said quietly. A lot of it is. Ethan's fists clenched. I hate him. He acts like he's doing us this big favor. Like replacing you is just normal. I know exactly how that feels. Savannah buys it, he muttered. She's trying to, but I don't. I don't want him. I just want you. When I wrapped my arms around my son, feeling him hug me back for the first time in months, I made a decision. This wasn't just about getting my life back anymore. This was about protecting my children from two people who thought they could rewrite our family story, but I wasn't going to do it with anger or confrontation. I was going to do it the way I'd been trained to, quietly. Systematically. Completely, while Sloane and Mercer were playing house in my driveway. I was building something they couldn't see coming. A case so airtight, so devastating, that when it finally dropped, there would be no recovery. No negotiation. No second chances. They wanted to erase me. I was about to show them what professional deletion actually looked like. The next few weeks were the hardest of my life, not because I was losing, but because I had to pretend I was. I had to let Sloane think she was winning. Let Mercer believe he was untouchable. Let them get comfortable in their new reality while I quietly built their destruction. But then Savannah's call came in. Dad. Her voice was tiny. Broken. I need you to see something. The photo she sent nearly dropped me to my knees. Ethan's forearm. Bruised. Clear finger-shaped marks. Fresh. Deep. Who did this? I forced the words out. It was Preston, she whispered. Last week. Ethan told him to get out of his room. They fought, and Preston grabbed him. Hard. My vision tunneled. My hands shook. In that moment, every careful plan I'd built nearly shattered under a rage I'd never felt before. Does your mother know? No. Ethan made me promise not to tell her. Said it would just make everything worse. Listen to me, sweetheart. You did the right thing. You hear me? You did the right thing. Dad, what's going to happen? I'm going to take care of it. That night, I called an emergency meeting with my team. We escalate, I said, slamming the phone down on the table. Now. No more watching. No more waiting. This ends. Griff's jaw flexed. Custody battle goes nuclear. Exactly. We get this in front of a judge, along with everything else. Financial manipulation. Psychological manipulation. And now physical abuse. Harlan nodded, already typing. I'll have a full report on Mercer's offshore accounts by morning. And the house? I asked. Architectural plans are finalized. Sloane's trust fund fronted most of it. Mercer's name is on the shell company tied to the property next door. There. Mid-transfer on merging both properties. Perfect. Because tomorrow morning, we freeze every account, flag every transfer, and file emergency injunctions to stop any property consolidation. Griff looked up. And the kids? We go for full custody. Not joint. Full. And we make sure Mercer never gets within 100 yards of either of them again. But as I sat in that hotel room that night, watching Sloane's texts roll in, I realized something had shifted. You're being ridiculous. Answer me. This is petty and cruel. She was panicking. The woman who'd been so coldly confident when she sent me that first message was now desperate for any kind of response. Good, let her sweat, but the real shock came the next morning, when Harlan called with news that changed everything. Jackson, Mercer isn't just shady. He's dirty. Full-on dirty. Money laundering, wire fraud, offshore tax evasion. And get this, he's linked to a Ponzi scheme disguised as a private equity fund in the Caymans. I sat up straight. You're telling me the guy sleeping in my house is committing federal crimes out of my living room? That's exactly what I'm telling you. And the kicker? He's using your home address as one of his business entity mail drops. You're technically tied to it in the public filings. My blood went cold. He's trying to frame me. Not just frame you. If this thing blows before we move, you could end up looking complicit by proximity. Then we're not waiting. Today. It ends today. Already ahead of you. I've been compiling a dossier for the FBI. They've been building a parallel investigation for months, but they lacked the trigger evidence. We just gave it to them. Oh, we gave them a lot more than that. What I learned next made me realize that Sloane hadn't just betrayed me. She'd walked herself into a federal crime scene, and in a few hours, when she thought she was attending a charity gala with her new boyfriend, she was actually walking into the most public arrest in Miami's recent history. The plan was perfect. The timing was flawless, and the best part, they'd never see it coming. The Perez Art Museum Gala was Miami's social event of the year. Red carpet. Designer gowns. The kind of crowd that thrived on being seen, on being important, on believing they were untouchable. It was the perfect stage for a very public downfall. I arrived at 7:50, dressed in a black suit, no smile, no networking small talk. I wasn't there to socialize. I was there to watch justice unfold in real time. Griff met me at the service entrance, dressed like event staff, hidden earpiece, all business. Cameras are live. Drones ready. Feed is patched to the FBI van 2 blocks down. Mercer's inside, drinking, overconfident. Sloane just arrived. Full gown. Working the room like nothing's wrong. Good, I said. Let's begin. The plan was surgical. While Mercer and Sloane mingled with Miami's elite, sipping champagne and pretending to be the perfect power couple, we were about to turn their world into a public spectacle. High above the museum, a drone shifted position. Its camera feed beamed directly to the massive screen behind the gala's main stage, the screen that was currently displaying rotating sponsor logos and abstract art. The feed blinked. Glitched. Then the text appeared. In bold white letters on a black background. Federal investigation initiated, wire fraud, securities fraud, money laundering, Mercer Blackwell, Azure Pines LLC. The gasps echoed through the hall like thunder. Forks clattered. Glasses froze midair. Heads turned. The screen flickered to the drone feed. Live shots of Mercer's car. The house. My house. Then overlays of shell companies, flowcharts, bank accounts. Cayman Islands. Panama. Zurich. The crowd rippled with horror and fascination. I stepped out from the service corridor just in time to see Mercer's face go pale, his hand, mid-toast with a hedge fund manager, froze in the air. Sloane stood beside him, her eyes darting from the screen to him to the guests who were now backing away like they were radioactive. What the hell? Mercer's voice cracked. He bolted toward the AV desk, panic written across his face. Too late. The moment he reached the back of the room, 2 men in plain suits intercepted him. Their jackets flashed open, badges gleaming. Mr. Mercer Blackwell? FBI. Financial Crimes Division. You're under arrest. The handcuffs clicked into place so loud the entire room could hear them. Some people gasped. Others cheered quietly. Most just stared, recording every second on their phones. Sloane staggered backward like someone had physically shoved her. No. No, this isn't. One of the agents turned to her. Mrs. Voss, we'll need you to remain available for questioning regarding your financial involvement in Azure Pines LLC. Sloane's perfect facade crumbled. No. I didn't. I didn't know. That's when she spotted me, her eyes widen with panic, betrayal, and realization all at once. You. Her voice trembled. You did this. I stared at her, cold as stone. No, Sloane. You did this. I just made sure everyone could see it. The arrest made every news channel in South Florida. The headlines were brutal. Miami power couple arrested in multimillion-dollar fraud scheme, charity gala becomes crime scene, federal agents arrest suspected money launderer at museum event. By midnight, Mercer was booked. His mugshot leaked online within hours. The charges were devastating: wire fraud, securities fraud, tax evasion, money laundering, conspiracy to commit financial crimes, and child endangerment. Sloane hadn't been arrested, but she wasn't free either. Her accounts were frozen. Her trust fund locked under federal investigation. Every financial move she'd made in the past year was being scrutinized by teams of federal accountants, and the house? The one she'd tried to merge with Mercer's property? Seized as evidence in a federal case. The next morning, I sat in family court with Celeste and a mountain of evidence that would make any judge's decision easy. Your Honor, Celeste began, this isn't just a custody case. This is a case of calculated deception, parental alienation, financial fraud, and physical abuse of a minor. She slid a photo across the evidence table. Ethan's bruised arm. The judge's face tightened. Mrs. Voss, were you aware that your partner was under federal investigation for financial crimes? Sloane swallowed hard. I didn't know. I had no idea. And yet we have financial records indicating that over $1.2 million from your trust fund was transferred to shell companies tied to Mr. Blackwell's fraudulent schemes. Her hands shook. I thought it was an investment. For our future. Our future. Her and Mercer. A future built on stealing everything I'd built, erasing me from my children's lives, and disappearing to some offshore paradise. Not today. Furthermore, Celeste continued, we have documented patterns of psychological manipulation directed at the children. Parental alienation tactics. Misrepresentation of Mr. Reed's absence during military contracts as abandonment. False narratives. Designed to sever the paternal bond. The judge had heard enough. This court awards full legal and physical custody of Ethan Reed and Savannah Reed to Mr. Jackson Reed, effective immediately. Sloane gasped. Her lawyer dropped his head. Furthermore, given the pattern of manipulation and failure to protect the minors from harm, Mrs. Voss is restricted to supervised visitation only, pending psychological evaluation. The gavel came down like thunder. When the hearing ended, my kids ran straight into my arms. Dad, I'm so sorry, Savannah sobbed. I didn't. No. I didn't understand. Shoo, I whispered, holding them both. It's over now. We're done. Don't ever leave again, Ethan said, his voice breaking. Please. Never, I promised. Not ever again. But the story wasn't finished, because while we were in court, across town, a different kind of justice was being served. The auction house. Movers were pulling up to the Fisher Island estate. Sloane's estate, everything she'd tried to build on the ruins of my marriage, was about to be liquidated to pay for Mercer's crimes. The Italian marble dining table she'd imported. The custom wine cellar. The designer furniture. The art collection, all of it tagged, catalogued, and sold. Even the house itself was under federal lien, scheduled for forced sale. And Mercer's precious yacht? The one they'd planned to sail to the Bahamas for their new life together, confiscated. Towed. Gone. I didn't need to be there to watch it happen. The photos Griff sent me said everything. One showed Sloane standing in the driveway, hands on her head, watching as her $60,000 patio furniture got loaded onto a truck. Another showed the Bentley being towed away. His caption was simple, deletion complete. The federal sentencing hearing was held in a courthouse that made family court look like a playground. Marble floors. Ceilings that stretched forever. The kind of place designed to remind you how small you were in the face of real justice. I sat in the back, not because I was hiding, but because I wanted Mercer to have to look for me. To scan the crowd, wondering if I was there, watching him realize that everything he'd built was about to collapse, and I was. When they brought him in, the transformation was complete. Gone was the designer suit, the expensive watch, the arrogant swagger. In its place was a man in an orange jumpsuit, hands cuffed, face pale with the reality of what he'd done. The judge didn't waste time. Mercer Blackwell, this court finds you guilty on all counts. Wire fraud. Securities fraud. Tax evasion. Money laundering. Conspiracy to commit financial crimes. And child endangerment. Mercer flinched at that last charge. Given the scope of your offenses, the premeditated nature of your schemes, and your attempts to flee using international accounts, this court sentences you to 9 years in federal prison. No parole. The gavel came down like a death sentence. You are ordered to pay restitution totaling $11.4 million to the victims of your crimes. It was over. Mercer sagged in his chair, the weight of his choices finally crushing him. When his eyes found me in the back of the courtroom, I didn't look away. I just stared. Steady. Calm, letting him know exactly one thing: you lost. You never stood a chance. While Mercer was being processed into the federal system, Sloan was across town, standing in front of the bankruptcy court. The reporters surrounded her like vultures. Her face was blotchy, her makeup streaked. The designer heels she wore looked ridiculous next to the fact that everything she owned was either frozen, repossessed, or about to be auctioned. Sloan Voss, former spouse of Jackson Reed and financial partner to convicted felon Mercer Blackwell, appeared in court today seeking to block the forced liquidation of her remaining assets. The camera zoomed in on her as she tried to shield her face. However, the court denied the request, citing evidence of fraudulent transfers and financial misconduct. No comment, she snapped at the reporters, but her voice cracked. No comment from the woman who'd once held court at every charity gala in Miami. Who'd built her identity on being seen, being important, being envied. Now she was just another cautionary tale, another person who'd learned that actions have consequences, and some consequences last forever. 6 months later, I'm sitting on the back porch of my new house, not the mansion on Fisher Island. Not the showcase property that Sloan had turned into her stage. A real house. Smaller, quieter, but mine, just mine. Ethan's kicking a soccer ball against the fence. Savannah's sketching in her notebook. The sound of my children laughing fills the air, and for the first time in years, it feels like home, a real home, not the kind you build to impress other people, but the kind you build to protect the people you love. My cybersecurity firm is thriving. Read Cyber Defense. We help people protect themselves from exactly the kind of betrayal I lived through. Word travels fast in Miami. When you take down a predator like Mercer, people trust someone who's walked through hell and come out the other side bulletproof. Sloan quietly moved out of her last affordable rental and disappeared from every social circle she used to dominate. No more charity galas. No more yacht parties. Her name has become a whisper, mentioned in the same breath as fraud and federal investigation. Mercer is serving his 9 years in a federal facility in Louisiana. Minimum security, but still prison, still consequences, still paying for what he did to my family, and me. I sleep at night, really sleep. Deep, uninterrupted, dreamless sleep. I don't check my phone every 5 minutes. I don't wonder what lies are being whispered to my children. I don't brace myself for the next betrayal, because the people who tried to destroy me are gone, and the people who matter most are right here. Dad? Savannah looks up from her sketchbook. Do you think bad people always get what's coming to them? I set down my coffee, thinking carefully. Sometimes the world takes care of it. But sometimes you have to stand up and make sure it happens. She nods, thoughtful. I'm glad you did. Ethan grins. Yeah, you kind of went full John Wick, but legal. I laugh harder than I've laughed in years. Yeah, kid. I guess I did. As the sun sets over Miami, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink, I think about the man I was when this all started, the man who stood in that airport, reading a text message that was supposed to delete him from his own life. That man was broken, confused, desperate for answers that might never come. This man knows exactly who he is. A father who fought for his children. A man who refused to be erased. Someone who learned that the most powerful revenge isn't anger or violence or confrontation. It's truth, patience, and the quiet strength that comes from knowing you're fighting for something worth protecting. Dad. Savannah kicks her feet under the table. Are we okay now? For real? I smile, pulling both my kids close. Yeah, sweetheart. We're better than okay. Because we are. We're home, and no one is ever taking that away from us again. Sometimes betrayal teaches us that the most important battles aren't fought with fists or fury, but with quiet resolve and unwavering strength. Sometimes the most powerful act isn't fighting back with anger, it's standing firm, watching the truth unravel, and walking away with your dignity intact. If this story moved you, if it made you think about the power of truth over deception, please share your thoughts in the comments below. Your stories and experiences help build a community of people who understand that justice isn't always loud, but it's always worth fighting for. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications for more stories about resilience, justice, and the quiet strength that comes from refusing to be broken.